the jihadis are already here on American soil, and they have claimed their first victim. The second victim, immediately after that, was the truth. The Biden administration, because it doesn't agree with their narrative, has contacted the Detroit police force and told them to come out and state that the jihadi terrorist attack that took the life of Samantha Wool, a woman on the left, was not anti-Semitic at all. And they have no evidence of this whatsoever. But the problem is they have no evidence of anything. But they have come out and ruled one thing out, which shows me they are running psychological operations. And I'm going to prove it to you. Some of you took issue with my statement that the Patriot Nurse needs to be very, very careful about moving around out in public. Now, I stand by that. It is a very, very fearful time for anyone of Jewish descent in this country, especially if you have any level of profile whatsoever. Now, real quick, thank you, every single one of you that has joined us at the Florida Monkey Patreon channel. God bless all of you. You're making a huge, huge difference in my life, standing in the gap, standing in the breach. They don't want you to know the truth. They're going to obfuscate it. They're going to hide it. They're going to use all sorts of psychological operations tricks to make you believe one thing is true when they exactly say another. Now, if you'd like to join us over at the Florida Monkey Patreon channel, where we talk about this specifically, how to pick this stuff out and how to identify. It's only $1 per month, even less if you sign up for an entire year. Fully refundable, first 90 days, no questions asked. Partnering with Vimeo, we can take the gloves off and talk about things like this now without any further delay. You see, they roll out headlines. Samantha Wool murder. Detroit police chief, tight-lipped on investigation, says it wasn't a hate crime. You see, all the people out there that for the last 5, 10, 15 years were so suspect of the media, when the media comes out and announces something that agrees with their anti-Semitic hate, they just automatically fall in line and agree with it. So many of you came to my comment section and said, it's already been debunked. It's already been debunked. It's not a hate crime. Because the mainstream media said so literally 5 seconds after it happened? Well, wait until you actually read the details of the article. You see, this is where it'll completely confuse you. How can they write the headline when the article says 180 degrees the opposite? Let's read. Detroit Police Chief James White remaining tight-lipped about the investigation of the murder of Samantha Wool, a Detroit synagogue president who was killed outside of her home this weekend. White spoke during a press conference from the DPD headquarters to announce details about the murder and the investigation. As of Sunday, police did not have any suspects in custody and had said that her murder was not believed to have been linked to any kind of anti-Semitism. Stop right there. How can you develop any kind of an opinion about means, motive, or opportunity if you don't even have a suspect? How do you know why it happened if you don't even know who? You can't even rule out burglary because you don't have a detailed list of everything that was in the home. But they haven't come out with a headline saying we've ruled out burglary. You see, they can't say that because they don't know what was in the home to begin with. They could, I suppose they could rule out arson because the house didn't burn down. But let's read. Let's keep reading. Monday afternoon, White reiterated that point multiple times. Says, oh, no suspects in custody, but they don't believe anyone else is being targeted. You see, here's what he's trying to say. They're trying to play this game, saying that there's no evidence of an organized group that are targeting multiple Jewish targets around the country. You see, he's saying it's not organized. He's not ruling out lone wolf. We don't feel, as of this press conference, that we think there is evidence to support evidence of anyone else. That's not what we're saying. Not what we're saying at all. Wool 40 was found, and this is the other thing too, stabbed to death outside of her home. Do you know how easy it is to get a gun in Detroit, in Michigan in general? I mean, it's easier probably to get, well, it is incredibly easy. They have a huge, huge problem. In fact, Whitmer has gone on and on and on and on and on about this. Announces $6.35 million to combat illegal guns in Michigan. I mean, it's literally in some areas, virtually every felony charge that they have on their books involves an illegal gun. It is so easy, so super easy to get a gun. The fact that this person was stabbed tells me everything I need to know. The chief did lay out a timeline. Wool's death, said that she got home from a wedding around 12:30 Saturday morning. 6 hours later, police were called to report of someone lying on the sidewalk near her home. Now, we also have a map of where she is versus Dearborn, Michigan, and it's a hop, skip, and a jump. White said it's believed she was attacked inside her home, then stumbled outside, where she collapsed and died. Project Greenlight camera footage is being reviewed, as are neighbors' home surveillance equipments. He also said, quote, when we look at this case, there are certain tracks that these types of cases take. When we talk about hate crimes, there are certain tracks that they take. We are confident with the information that we have that this is not a hate crime. You see, this is baloney. But he said, pay attention. White also said they are not ruling out anything. They are not ruling out anything and will go where the information and evidence takes them. Quote, right now, the evidence has not taken us there. It hasn't taken them anywhere. They don't have any suspects. They're even saying anyone who lives near the home, check your video and see if they saw anything. Now, what's my key on this? My key is this. She was the founder of a Muslim Jewish forum in Detroit, trying to, after the November 2015 Paris attacks, she was trying to make peace between Muslims and Jews right outside of Dearborn, Michigan. And let's look at this real quick. Okay, here's Detroit. Here's Dearborn. Here's Dearborn, Michigan. This is Muslim Jihadi Central in North America, right across the border from Canada. Okay, where she was found was literally right here, right in this area right here, Lafayette Park, right outside of Detroit. I mean, that's literally just a matter of minutes away from Jihadi Central. And all of a sudden, they're coming out with headlines saying that this isn't the case, and they have no proof, they have no idea. So trust me when I tell you, Jewish females especially need to keep their head on a swivel. They need to be incredibly diligent. This picture on the left is from the Patriot Nurse's backup channel, where she talks about sleeping with a rifle and doing rifle presentations before bed. Very smart move. Now, some are wondering, gosh, if only we had Trump, everything would be peaceful. You see, that's where I know people don't read the Bible. Do not think that I came to bring peace on earth. This is Jesus speaking. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a man's enemies will be those of his own household. So you want peace? You want peace? The most peaceful place in the world is a cemetery. What's the line from the old Don Williams song? Nothing makes a sound in the night like the wind does, but you ain't afraid if you're washed in the blood like I was. You see, I have no fear of cemeteries. Many people are like, oh, I would be terrified all night, just of your own imagination. Maybe raccoons or possums or whatever crawls through places like this in the middle of the night might scare you. But these people that believe ghosts and goblins and all this other nonsense, especially with the upcoming holiday, most peaceful place in the world for those of us who are saved, those of us who know who goes before us and holds tomorrow, would be a cemetery. Besides, what does every gravestone say? Rest in peace. That's right. Now, we're going to do a bit of a left turn here. And this is really, I hope, going to wake some folks up. Those of you who have watched the channel for any amount of time know that for a while we talked about the sci-fi series called Stargate. And there was this very short time where they showed these characters. They're called Goa'uld. They're basically men that have been inhabited by parasites who believe they're gods because they have advanced technology. That's demonstrated here by the guy in gold. He's got this little personal shield where if somebody comes up and aims a weapon at him, he can just press a little button on his wrist and the shield pops up and he is impervious to weapons fire. Now, some might say, man, I would love to have something like that. I would absolutely love to have a personal shield like that. Imagine what you could get done. Well, you see, believe it or not, you have a constitutional right to that personal shield. Wait, what are you talking about? See, a lot of gun guys love to go on and on about the Second Amendment. Your actual gun rights are guaranteed in the Fourth Amendment, not in the Second. The Second Amendment's about the militia. You see, the Fourth Amendment gives you the right, the right of the people to be secure in their persons. Stop right there. Forget houses, papers, effects. Secure in their persons against unreasonable searches and or seizures. And that shall not be violated. And no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supporting by oath or for affirmation, and particularly describing the things to be searched and or seized. You see, you couldn't pass a law. You couldn't pass a law allowing for gun seizure. You know why? It would have violated your Fourth Amendment right to be secure in your person. Now imagine for 1 minute if you had one of these little personal shields. How secure would you feel in your person? It's not an offensive weapon, for sure. It's just a shield to keep you from being shot. Well, you see, you have a right, and this is my point. You have a constitutional right to do whatever you feel is necessary, to do whatever you feel is necessary to feel secure in your person. In your person. Forget the house, forget the papers, forget the effects. Whatever you would need against unreasonable seizures. See, this is your actual hidden gun right. Or, in the case, let's say aliens came down and gave you this ability. Pardon me, still fighting this cough. Imagine what the government would say if you had something that made all of their ballistic weapons impervious. They couldn't even come up and lay a finger on you because of this personal shield. You'd have a right to it. You could say, hey, I have a Fourth Amendment right. I have a Fourth Amendment right that says I have a right to be secure in my person. I have a right to be secure in my person. Just like Patriot Nurse has a right to be secure in her person using whatever means necessary. See, a lot of people, that's going to blow a lot of their minds. Now, I've made this analogy with wolves before because I think people mistake wolves for lions. Wolves are treacherous. Wolves are unlike lions in the sense that they will come with as many and whenever. You see, lions operate a little bit differently than wolves do. Wolves are sneaky. Wolves will get in hen houses. Wolves will take children. Wolves will take anything. Now, imagine you're in this little group. Is this the time to prepare? Right here, when the wolves finally come all out of the trees? Is this the time to start sharpening your sword? Is this the time to start preparing your armor? No. No, the time for all of that was way before you saw the first wolf. But some might say, Florida Marquis, in the Bible, Daniel was tossed into the lion's den. Daniel was tossed in the lion's den. The lions didn't touch him. I have my faith. I have my faith. The Bible also says, for as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also. You see, you give me the choice between an avenging angel and a weapon. I don't see that there's necessarily a difference. You see, there's a time to prepare and a time to do due diligence. You know what Daniel's due diligence was? Daniel prayed, and there's actually a song about that too, even when it was illegal. Daniel 6. Daniel was raised to high office by his royal master, Darius the Mede. Daniel's jealous rival tricks Darius into issuing a decree that for 30 days no prayers should be addressed to any god or man but Darius himself. Anyone who disobeys this edict is to be thrown to the lions. Pious Daniel continues to pray daily to the God of Israel. And the king, although deeply distressed, must condemn Daniel to death, for the edicts of the Medes and Persians can't be altered. Hoping for Daniel's deliverance, Darius has cast him into the pit. At daybreak, the king hurries to the place and cries out anxiously, asking if God had saved his friend. Daniel replies that his God had sent an angel to close the jaws of the lions, because I was found blameless before him. The king then commanded those who had conspired against Daniel to be thrown to the lions in his place, with their wives and children, and that the whole world should tremble and fear before the God of Israel. The God of Israel. The God of Daniel. You see, this is the one thing that, and boy, it's going to piss a lot of people off. It's the one thing the Jewish community gets right that a lot of Christians, a lot of Gentiles don't. Your faith by itself isn't going to save you without preparation. Your faith without preparation, without works, is dead. And we could read through the entire part of that in James, that where he elaborates on this in 10 verses. Even Rahab the harlot was justified by her works. Abraham believed God, imputed unto him for righteousness. Why? Because he offered Isaac up on the altar. Thou believest that there is one God, thou doest well. The devils, the demons of this world, also have faith and believe and tremble. You see, the only thing the terrorists, the jihadis, have faith in is their 72 virgins. That's why the vast majority of them, when they arrive in America, end up in the titty bars, never to be heard from again. Because this is what their promise is. Their promise is fleshly. How many remember that? The 72 virgins that are promised to all these guys. What do you think's motivating them? It's just crazy. Customs and Border Patrol memo sounds alarm on Hamas Hezbollah fighters. Everybody was talking about this. Everybody was talking about this. And then when now there's evidence of this, people are denying it. It is bizarre. It is absolutely bizarre. They're denying it because the mainstream media told them to deny it. There's no evidence that there's a... If there's no evidence, okay, if there's no specific evidence, then why are they coming out and saying in headlines that they have evidence that it isn't something? If there's no evidence, and the guy even said, we're not ruling anything out. We're not ruling anything out, but we're saying it's not this. You see, that is Washington, D.C. doublespeak. That's how I know they have been in contact with D.C. That is Washington, D.C. doublespeak. So believe me, the threat is not gone. The threat is here. And they're waiting and they're biding their time. And those of you wanting to talk about, oh, if Trump was here, we'd have peace. No, we wouldn't. No, we wouldn't. We're at a moment right now where wanting peace would be the dumbest thing you could wish for right now. Because the only time you want peace is when your enemy is vanquished. The only time you should ever want peace is when this is where your enemies are. Because if you leave one, and this is biblical as well, you leave one, you have left something to fester, something to lose sleep about. Because it's been tried over and over and over again. Whether you can go back as far as you want. Carter, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Obama, they all tried and all failed because there's one side that doesn't want peace. There's one side that has a sworn death cult wish to destroy the other. So, like I said, I'd like to hear from you guys on this particular subject because I think it's illustrative. You see, if you had this right to be secure, you would be the only one determining it, right? Because secure is a subjective term. Is it not? The right to be secure in one's person? Would that not be up to you? Some might say I'm secure because I live way out in the middle of nowhere. I feel more secure living out in the country than in the city. Some people say, well, I like safety in numbers, so I'm going to live, in large groups of people. I feel more safe that way. For some, it might mean living in Florida versus living in, say, Michigan. For some, it might mean all sorts of different things. But it's really the Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment that gives you your gun rights. Because if they repealed the Second, you'd always have this. Even if they repealed the Second Amendment, you would always have this. Well, I have a right to be secure in my person, and I have a right to determine under what circumstances I feel secure. So, I will leave it there. But once again, pray. First line of defense, pray. Because this is going to get a lot worse before it gets better. God bless all of you. Pray for me. I'll pray for you. Lift each other up. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you guys so much for being at the Patreon channel, making a huge difference. We'll see you guys next time. God bless. Take care.